In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the rear wheel bearings on this BMW X5. These are going to be located behind the rear wheels. Let's get into it. Now we're going to remove the wheel. Use a 17mm socket, take the lug bolts out. Before I take the last one out, I'm just going to hold the wheel to prevent it from falling. Take that out, grab the wheel, pull it off. Now using a E18 socket, we're going to take these bolts out. For the caliper bracket, we'll take the caliper and the bracket off together. It's an E18 socket. Grab the caliper and bracket, slide that off. I'll just use a hanger, a caliper hanger, and we're just going to hang this out of the way, just like that. Using a 6mm hex socket, we're going to take this screw out, grab the rotor, slide that off. If it's stuck on, you can use a hammer and just give it a tap. See if you can loosen it up. Now we're going to take this nut off. It is peened over. I'm just going to use a chisel or a punch and just give it a tap. Just try to bend it back a little bit. Just make it easier. Using a 36mm 12-point socket, take this nut off. Pull that off. Now I'm going to take a large punch and just hammer the axle out just to loosen it from the hub. It is moving. Yep, there we go. All right, that's loose. That's good. There's different types of pullers you can use to separate the hub from the bearing. We're going to use a slide hammer. There it is. Now we're going to take the ABS wheel speed sensor out. Use a 5mm hex socket. Take this screw out. Take that out and grab the sensor. Give it a wiggle back and forth. Pull that out. If you need to, you can use some pliers. And take this nut off, use an 18mm socket. Pull that out. Now where the level sensor attaches to the lower control arm, you're going to take this nut off, use a 10mm socket. Take that nut off and separate the arm. Pull the stud through. Now with the vehicle lowered, I'm going to put a floor jack underneath the lower control arm. Just raise up on the suspension. Take the pressure off the shock. And then we're going to take that lower shock bolt out right there. And using a 21mm socket, take this bolt out. Pull that out. Pull the shock out of the control arm. And We can lower the control arm. Just make sure that's out of the way. Should be good right there. Now we're going to remove this bolt. On this side, you're going to use an 18mm wrench or a socket. And then on the other side, you get a 24mm socket to take the nut off. Just loosen this up. Take that nut off. I'm just going to tap it with a rubber mallet. You can use a punch, just punch it out as well. And you can just wind it out if you want. There we go. Pull that out. Underneath there's a shield. We're going to take this shield off. Just use a trim tool. Pop these push pins out. There's one more a little higher up. Grab the shield and pull it down. Now before we loosen this bolt, we want to mark it. It is an alignment adjustment. So when we go back together, you want to get it as close as possible. You are going to need an alignment after you're done. So just make some marks. That's good right there. And using a 18mm wrench on the bolts, 24mm socket. You want to loosen this up. On this side, we're going to use an 18mm socket. Take this bolt out. You're going to have that nut. It's attached to that lever. Just take that bolt out. And you want to grab the control arm and just pry it down. Going to come out of there a little bit. That's good right there. If you need to, you can pull it down more. You pull it out all the way if you want. Makes it easier. Now from the back side, we're going to use an E14 socket. Loosen those up. Take those out. I am using a pry bar just to keep it from twisting. Get them all loose first. You can move the axle out of the way a little bit if you need to. There's 4 of them. All right. Take those out. Those out. Now I'm just going to use another bolt. You could use one of the old bolts if you want, or a bolt that fits. And I'm just going to push the bearing out from the back side. I'm just going to use an air hammer. Alright, made the bearing loose. You can just pop this out. And it comes right out. Now we need to remove the race from the hub. There's different methods you could use. You could use a puller, or you could even cut it, slice it down, and then use an air hammer, try to get it off that way. We're gonna heat it up with a torch and spin it. That method seems to be the quickest. There we go. Now we're going to take the hub and put it in a press or a installer, and take the bearing, and it's going to go in like that. And then you want a cup or an adapter that's smaller than the bearing, just like that, but not quite so big that it's going to be pressing on the outside. Put the nut on, and we're going to tighten this down. As we tighten this down, it's going to push the bearing onto the hub. Yeah, I'll just tighten this down. All right, that's all the way down. Looks good. Take the tool off, and you want to make sure the hub looks like this, with where the bolt holes are away from the hub. The bearing is on this side, and you can see on the top of this there's a tone ring. I'll show you that in a second. You're going to make sure you install the bearing this way. The threaded holes are going to be towards the outside. You can see there's actually a tone ring on there. That's for the ABS signal. So you want that towards the center of the car, and the hub is on the outside, just like that. Now take the assembly, go over the axle. You're going to get it past the parking brake shoes. There we go. Just get it past the shoes. Now take the bolts. The bolts started in the back, and you're just going to have to wiggle around the hub just to get everything to line up. If you need to, use a pole jack. All right, that's started. And just get the other bolts started. Snug these down. Good. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 73 foot-pounds. Just use the pry bar. Torque those down. Now take the lower control arm, slide that up. Make sure you position the sway bar link through the arm. Just get that lined up. And just push it in place. I'm just going to use a pole jack just to get it close so we can get the bolts in. If you need to, use a pry bar or a rubber mallet. There we go. That's lined up. Get that nut started. I just pulled the pole jack out of the way. Just pull this down, pull the knuckle in place, and then take this longer bolt and get that through. There we go. You might have to do some prying. Get that to line up. There we go. Put the nut on. Now with the vehicle lowered, I'm going to use a floor jack and just raise up the suspension. Underneath the control arm. I'm going to get the shock lined up. There we go. Put the shock bolt in. Get that started. Get that close. And raise it up as close to ride height as possible. That's good. Snug that down. Now I'll torque this bolt to 121 foot-pounds. Now we're going to tighten this nut and bolt. And you want to torque this to 95 foot-pounds. And then go an additional 180 degrees. That's good. And I'll tighten this bolt down. And you want to torque this to 73 foot-pounds. and then you want to go an additional 90 degrees. If you have a torque angle meter, you can use that. Do the best you can if you don't. That's good. Now for this bolt, you want to make sure that those marks are lined up on the back side where that cam is. And we'll tighten this bolt down, or the nut. And then we're going to torque this nut to 184 foot-pounds. All right, that's good. Now we can lower the floor jack. Now we'll put the axle nut on. Get that started. Tighten that down. I'm going to take 2 lug bolts. Get those started just to prevent the hub from spinning. We'll put a pry bar in between. That's good there. Then we're going to torque this nut to 310 foot-pounds. That's good. Pull that out. Pull the bolts out. Now I'm just going to take a chisel and just peen over the nut so it doesn't loosen up. You do the same on the other side. That's good. Now take this cover, get this lined up, just clip it in first on the front. That's good. And take the push pins and push those in place. Now take the nut. Get the nut started for the lower link. Snug that up. Now we're going to torque this nut to 74 foot-pounds. That's good. And the level sensor. Get the stud through the hole there. Get the nut on. And tighten this down. Snug that down. I'm going to take the ABS wheel speed sensor, put that back in position, put the screw in. Snug that down. I'm just going to spray the hub surface with some anti-seize, just a thin coat. That's good. I'm going to put the rotor on, get that lined up. If you have to, adjust the parking brake. Snug that down. And snug that down. That's good. Now take the hanger off the caliper. And slide it over the rotor. Just make sure the pads are spread. And get the bolts started. Tighten those down. And torque these to 81 foot-pounds. go. Take the wheel, get the wheel started, get that lined up. That's good. Get the bolt started. Snug those down. Now we're going to torque the lug bolts to 103 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. I just go around again, double check.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.